I am disappointed in the Attorney General. He should not have recused himself almost immediately after he took office, and if he was going to recuse himself, he should have told me prior to taking office, and I would have quite simply picked somebody else. So I think that's a bad thing, not for the president, but for the presidency. I think it's unfair to the presidency. I told you before, I'm very disappointed with the Attorney General, but we will see what happens. Time will tell. Time will tell.
Time will tell from President Trump in the Rose Garden, appearing at a news conference after he tweeted earlier today, Ukrainian efforts to sabotage Trump campaign quietly working to boost Clinton. So where's the investigation, AG? Attorney General Sessions has taken a very weak position on Hillary Clinton crimes. Where are emails and DNC server and intel leakers? Problem is the acting head of the FBI and the person in charge of the Hillary investigation, Andrew McCabe, got $700,000 from Hillary for his wife. Talking about the Andrew McCabe's wife, who got some money prior to the campaign, and we've done that story. What about all of this, and where's it heading? Let's bring in our panel. Steve Hayes, editor-in-chief of the Weekly Standard, Olivier Knox, Yahoo News chief Washington correspondent, and Charles Hurt, opinion editor for the Washington Times. We're going to talk about the health care movement, the historic vote. It was a big day, but these comments today obviously got the most attention.
You think? And, you know, who could have predicted that? Forget loyalty to Jeff Sessions. The question that I have is, what is the end game here? If he's trying to humiliate Sessions into quitting, he's going to be left with Rod Rosenstein. And do you think that the Senate is ever, even a Republican Senate, is going to give him a new Attorney General? I don't think that they are. So I don't really understand what the end game here is, except to just humiliate Jeff Sessions. And I actually agree with his concerns. I understand why Jeff Sessions recused himself. I don't think he should have in this political environment. But it's very troubling as somebody who wants to see Donald Trump succeed. It's very troubling. This may be the most troubling thing I've seen, where he is he's sort of letting himself, his rage get ahead of his thinking and strategizing.
Olivier, it's been floated that Rudy Giuliani was being talked about in the West Wing. Giuliani says he has no knowledge of that, and also says the recusal in his mind was the right thing to do for Sessions. Here is the president with the Wall Street Journal. When they say he endorsed me, I went to Alabama. I had 40,000 people. He was senator from Alabama. I won the state by a lot, massive numbers, but he was senator. He looks at 40,000 people. He probably says, what do I have to lose? And he endorsed me. So it's not like a great loyal thing about the endorsement, but I'm very disappointed in Jeff Sessions. Well, I interviewed Jeff Sessions after the Access Hollywood tape came out. He was the only guy going out and doing interviews. Where do you think, covering the White House, is this coming from?
Well, the president's getting even more frustrated than he was before with a lot of the Russian investigations. The complaints that he's talking about, what he's really saying is Jeff Sessions should be the one looking into all of this, not Bob Mueller. It's very clear it's that place of frustration. Because
but wasn't it the talk about the tapes of Comey that really triggered, in part, sure, the call for Mueller? I mean, obviously the recusal was before that, but the talk about the tapes,
a whole different set of tweets by the president, right? I mean, in some ways that was a self-inflicted wound. I will say I think they would give him an attorney general. I just think that it's unimaginable that one would get through the confirmation process without being grilled on how can you prove to us that you would be independent? How can you prove to us that you wouldn't fire Bob Mueller just because the president told you to? And that's my point. Is they're not going to give him an attorney general who is going to make a decision different from the one that Jeff Sessions made. But it's coming from that frustration, and that frustration is born of the fact that inside the White House they view all things Russia, this whole conversation, as fundamentally an effort to undermine and delegitimize the president and his historic victory in November. And so he's reacting to that on a very visceral and very personal level, and it's giving us this unprecedented presidential buyer's remorse, if you will, when it comes to the attorney general.
But, on this Russia investigation, obviously we don't know what we don't know, Steve, and where Mueller is going and what tangentially he could connect to with the president or his family. But if you listen to Trey Gowdy on this show earlier, Jared Kushner, according to him, is very impressive and point by point about every element of this lack of collusion tie with anything that he saw, and he was pretty integral to the campaign.
Right. It does make you wonder what Donald Trump is. I mean, he's seeing a whole universe of things, presumably, that are taking place in the Mueller investigation that we're not privy to, the public, the journalists covering this. And it makes you wonder what is it that he's seen, because you can't really identify a precipitating event. I mean, Jeff Sessions recused himself months ago, and this sort of day after day tirade has taken up really just the last week. But I think what you're seeing here is very interesting. I don't agree with Donald Trump that Jeff Sessions was just one person out of 40,000 who was there. You have to remember when that came. He was a very important person, sort of giving Donald Trump his backing early, legitimizing Donald Trump, and representing, in effect, what became known as Trumpism. I mean, the ideology, the policy side of what Donald Trump represents. Jeff Sessions was a Trumpist before Donald Trump was a Trumpist. When Donald Trump was still hoping for comprehensive immigration reform, Jeff Sessions was pushing in the other direction. He was that way on trade. He was that way on a number of issues. And I think what you're seeing is this, and the potential risk to the president, is if he separates Trumpism from Donald Trump. You have people who love Donald Trump, and they're going to be for Donald Trump no matter what he says, no matter what policies he pushes, no matter what he signs. But you also have a lot of people who are for Donald Trump because they believe in the ideas that he campaigned on. Jeff Sessions represents that, and if Donald Trump loses them as part of his base, I think that could be politically perilous for him.
And there are some conservatives like Mark Levin and others who are out very aggressively defending Jeff Sessions. Here is, you know, the talk about the intel going after the leakers, but also the Hillary investigation. Here, the evolution of that dating back to previous interviews from the debate and 60 Minutes.
If I win, I am going to instruct my Attorney General to get a special prosecutor to look into your situation, because there has never been so many lies, so much deception.
She did some bad things. I mean, she did some bad things. I know, but a special prosecutor?
I don't want to hurt them. I don't want to hurt them. They're good people. I don't want to hurt them.
So maybe now he does?
Well, I think that when he's considering how much he's getting grilled himself, I think that it starts to look sort of more appealing. But I think Steve is exactly right, and about the fact that so many of the people that supported him, they really did support him because of those issues. And every time he got into trouble during the campaign, what he did was he pivoted back to those issues like trade and immigration, fighting terrorism, and it got him out of every single jam, because he was talking about stuff that everybody was listening to and agreeing with, and nobody around here was even onto yet. And so I wish that he would now, again, turn back to the issues. He had a tremendous victory today. Go back to health care. Even if I don't agree with what he's doing, that populist message has gotten him out of so much trouble, and it can get him out of trouble this time, too, if he would quit beating up on Jeff Sessions.
And we are going to turn to that big victory in just a moment. Does Sessions survive?
Honestly, it's unimaginable at this point.
You need to have someone who is a logical replacement. I haven't heard, the Giuliani thing fizzled almost immediately. I haven't heard a logical replacement, which is one of the biggest bars you have to clear if you want to remove someone who's playing such an important role in the
But let me just add, I think that there's a good chance that he quits. I mean, who wants to put up with this?
Right.
Look at these guys, Hammond and Hahn, with their long explanations. I mean, I'll give you a straight answer. No.
Does not survive.
He doesn't survive.
That's a rare event, by the way, at the end of the table. A rare event. He's joking.